So with that, we'll go into the Lumu portal. And I want to just show you around here from the cybersecurity operator's perspective, what you would expect to see here. As a cybersecurity operator, every minute counts in looking for and identifying and classifying malicious activity in the network, right? And so Lumu's product was specifically designed for cybersecurity operators, with your needs in mind. So everything that you see here, again, is meticulously designed so that as a cybersecurity operator and as somebody that needs to be in there day to day, knowing what's happening in the network, that everything is front and center for you, and that at no point are you missing out on anything that's happening in the organization. So everybody has access to a Lumu customer portal, and you can have as many users in an organization as you'd like in here, so that they can get the same view that you have, and you can really collaborate in this environment. You see exactly what's happening across the organization. Right now we're in the overview tab, gives you sort of a bird's eye view of what's happening, but you always can dial down into the details, into our incidents view. This is one of the things we're going to be diving into today, the incidents view, and how it's evolved throughout the time of Lumu, and how it's every single time it evolves and it updates. There's something new here to help and enable cybersecurity operators, whether it's being able to sort by incidents that are open, closed, pending, to be able to filter down to the threat type that you want to see, the types of incidents that you want to see. And we're going to go through this in more detail, but I just want to give you a little bit of background. This incidents view, that's one of the things that has really come a long way in our time at Lumu, and has really become the cybersecurity operator's right hand, the most kind of important part, I think, of our portal in terms of operability. One of the other really interesting and great new things that we have here at Lumu that we're going to dive into a little more detail on later is the global MITRE attack matrix. Now, this global matrix gives you pretty much a 360-degree view into the different tactics and the different techniques that are being used against your organization. And it's all linked to the MITRE attack matrix from the portal, itself. So really the importance of this feature is letting you know, hey, your organization for the most part seems to be targeted by, these different techniques. You may want to adjust your cyber stack to avoid those things from happening. And so you're gonna be able to see what the majority of that looks like. We're gonna go into more detail later, but that's one of the new features as well that we're gonna be talking about today. And then lastly, a huge focus for us at Lumu is helping you get your cyber stack on the same page. And that's why our integrations ecosystem, it's constantly growing. It's constantly evolving. We're always expanding our partnerships with different cybersecurity providers so that you can use what you already have and put that to work with the intelligence that Lumu provides. So we're always expanding, the ones that you're able to collect data with. These are out of the box, meaning they're just click by click, super easy to integrate through the portal. We have a ton of other integrations. We have over 70 different types of integrations with different providers out there, whether that's these out of the box ones that you see here in the portal, API, ad hoc, etc. But you have so many options about how to put your existing cybersecurity stack to work, and from the SecOps perspective as well. You have these out of the box, but we have a ton of other SecOps integrations as well that you can use for ticketing systems and whatever you really need that for in your organization. So those are the things that have been changing here, have been expanding at Lumu, and have been really making the cybersecurity operator's job a lot easier over the last few years that we've been around. So let's get started with incidents. Incidents is really where the cybersecurity operator, analyst, whoever's in this tool day to day, this is probably where you'd spend the majority of your time. Now, generally speaking, what happens is that you're going to be in here, but the other thing with Lumu is that you'll always get an incident notification. So if there's a new incident, if something is now impacting your organization, Lumu has detected something, confirmed compromise, you're going to get an email about a new incident that's been created. Now, your email will look something like this. It will tell you, what the IOC is, a little bit of detail there. But to get more details and to really dive into it, you'll probably be in the portal already. You'll probably already know about this incident. It pops up as a little notification there in the portal. So you can just click on it and it'll generally be at the top. So this is the latest incident for an organization. And let's go ahead in there and let's explore what that looks like and what that means for us. So we're going to click on this incident here. Looks like it's the newest one. It's the one we got an email about. Let's investigate further what's going on. Now, here you see the name of the confirmed IOC. You can copy that for your records. You get a description of what it is. Now, this one seems to be related to malware, C2C and malware. The status of the incident, it's currently open. That means that you have, it's open in the portal. Nobody in the organization has yet read it or looked at it. The last operation is just kind of the last interaction or any action that's been taken with this IOC within your organization, any contact or anything like that, or attempted contact. And then under the detections tab, you're going to see that distribution across the organization of different endpoints that have been impacted. So different endpoints across the network that have been impacted by this particular IOC here. So as you can see, we have 5 endpoints that are being affected. 7 malicious contacts means there's been contact 7 times, throughout those different endpoints. And then 2 labels affected. And we'll talk about what labels are in just a little bit when we go into the other tabs. But here, if you click on an endpoint, you can see, just some details about when that contact with the IOC happened, the source, the metadata source that reported what happened, the name of the metadata collector, endpoint IP, action that was taken, and we'll talk about that in just a second. But we're talking about the integrations, so it looks like this was blocked, and then the destination of that contact. Now, if you click on more details, and this applies to all of the different endpoints that you have here, you get the same kind of information with all the different endpoints that have been in contact with this IOC within the incident. Now, they're all going to come with this thing that says see more details. And one of the great things about this is that if you really want to dive deeper and get more details about this, you have, the packet data here and more detailed information about, what's been going on with this particular endpoint and this particular IOC. You can copy that thread for your information, but basically you have all the details that you need to see there if you really want to dive deep and get that kind of information. Now, the great thing about this incident view is that you have this operation timeline. Now, you already know what's going on, you know what's happening. The operation timeline is sort of a guide that gives you an idea of, within your organization, how this incident is moving and how it's being handled as well. So as you can see there, the first threat contact, meaning the first time this IOC contacted any assets in the organization was, it says here June 21st, 5:43, that's the timestamp there. You have the endpoint that was first contacted. So that's going to be first contact in the organization. Then from there, you have the automated response. Now, again, you have those integrations. You have all types of different integrations that you can implement to block these types of IOCs, this kind of malicious activity. Anything that you see here within the incidents view can be blocked automatically, so the mitigation efforts are happening immediately. So you can see that the next step there was the automated response in this example with FortiGate. And then it was read by a member at the organization. So someone did, in fact, read this incident, already looked at it. And then there was a report shared. So you can share reports, and I'll show you what that looks like in just a second. But this kind of shows you how it's being handled internally, and you can feel free to take other actions here as well. So if you're someone else, you could mark that you started working on the incident yourself. You can close the incident, mute the incident, and then you can also just comment on it. Just kind of leave a status comment, maybe looking into this. Okay, my keyboard stopped. My keyboard's frozen. All right, you leave your comment there. And then again, just a good way to track this, see what's happening internally. These incidents, you don't need to take any serious action on because you have that automation in place. But again, it's a very good way to just track what's happening. If you need to take any remediation efforts, you can track what's happening within this Lumu portal and within the incident itself. So it's just a really great way to collaborate as a team. You have the other things here that you have is the highlights tab. So this highlights tab is sort of a different way of understanding how the incident is moving, but more so how it's impacting your organization, how it's moving and how it's spreading, when it started, the endpoints affected, labels affected, which I touched on earlier. Labels are essentially the way that you organize the metadata that's being collected so that you can then later identify areas of the organization that are being targeted by these bad actors and by these IOCs. So as you can see here, You have the different labels that are impacted. Looks like the production system and the administrative system. These are the two that are being impacted by this particular incident. And so that's what you're seeing broken down there. It just gives you an idea of where to focus your remediation efforts if you need to do that, which areas of the organization maybe you need to maybe adjust other elements of your cyber stack for, things like that. So it's helping you understand what's most targeted in the organization. It really just helps you organize and prioritize. Now how it's being distributed, again, just how it's moving, more kind of a timeline perspective. And then the compromised radar, depending on the incident, depending on the number of contacts, you see sort of how it's moving across the organization, which days, what times of the days. Another just way to visualize that. If there's any email intelligence, that's included here too. It totally depends on the nature of the incident. If there is no email intelligence, it won't be included. It depends on the type of incident you're looking at. Next, you have the threat intelligence tab. This is another way of really understanding more so what you're dealing with, what you're up against, rather than how it's moving. So this is going to be any information that we have about that IOC, any third-party information that we have about them, all of that's going to be included here in threat triggers. You get a full list of related IOCs as well. And all of that data, also the related files, any related hash files we find, things like that, all of that's going to be fed to your integrations and be part of that automated process and making sure that that's mitigated immediately. But all that information just gives you more context, helps you understand what you're up against. Related resources, here's where we try to include some articles, helps you again just understand what you're dealing with, what third parties say about this. And again, I think really this helps to this, and then the next tab here, these two really help you to make adjustments to your cyber stack and defend your organization, differently. Maybe think a little bit differently about how things are maybe getting in or happening, how these IOCs are making their way in essentially. And this attack matrix thing, again, just another way of understanding for this specific incident, this one in particular, how it's potentially evading other cybersecurity tools you have in place, different techniques that are being used against your organization to carry out this attack. So what's great about it is you have this map here that shows you all of the different TTPs that are being used against you. You can click on them, and then what's great, it gives you a little description there, but it also links to the MITRE attack matrix itself so that you can go in here and understand a little bit more about what you're dealing with this particular IOC or with this particular technique that was used in this incident. Okay, and so that's really the kind of the nature of it. What you can expect to see in all of the incidents and any malicious activity that we report to you. We try to be as detailed as possible so that as a cybersecurity operator, you can constantly be kind of improving and making sure that you're making the adjustments you need to make across your cyber stack, that you know what you're dealing with what's detected, how you're being targeted, and most of all, so that you can operate it internally with the things like the operation timeline. You're able to export all of the information from specific incidents as well, and you're also able to email reports, which is very useful, very helpful. Basically, if this is an incident that was particularly interesting, or you want to share it with someone else in the organization that maybe they don't have necessarily have portal access, but you want to share the email report with them, you just type their email in there, and then you wanted to share the report. You just go ahead, it'll send them an email, and then the email will look something like this. So you'll see all of the details about that incident the same way that you see them in the portal. You're going to be able to see everything that we saw in all of those tabs. So you're really going to understand everything that you have in the portal there, but here in a PDF file, so you can kind of look closer at it or share again with other members of the organization. So back to the incidents view. Again, let's say you're finished dealing with this incident, your automated response took place, you already know what you're up against, you have the information that you need from it. You can always select an incident or potentially select 2 incidents and take bulk actions on them. You can mute the incident if you don't want to hear about it any longer, or close the incident completely so that it's not here in the portal with all of your open incidents, and that you can focus maybe on other ones that you want to prioritize instead. So that's kind of the great thing about it is the ability to operate these incidents within the portal itself. The other thing that you have here is that you can filter, of course, by open incidents, but you can also then, if you did mute it or you did close it, you can always look back at what has been muted and what has been closed so that, you can look back on anything as well. It doesn't get deleted, rather it just kind of gets pushed aside. The other thing we have here are the filters. I know I touched on this earlier, but if you need to find a certain incident that's associated with a particular kind of threat, you can do that here. You select by threat type. Let's say you only want to focus on malware and C2C. You apply that filter, and only malware and C2C incidents will be shown to you below. So it's a great way to kind of prioritize and find what you're looking for much more quickly. Endpoints impacted, maybe the actual endpoints affected or the number of endpoints. Labels, again, if you want to maybe focus on certain areas of the business or see how those areas of the business are being impacted, you can sort and filter by labels, by number of contacts, date of contacts, when it's been happening, when it was created. If it was playback related, which these incidents are generally related with zero-day attacks, maybe it was something that you had contact with a long time ago. We keep a record of that for 2 years. If it becomes, malicious later on, that's going to be a playback incident. It's going to be shown to you that later on, it turned into something. So that's an interesting one as well. And then you have automated response, which will show you if it was automatically responded to or not. So if you want to see the ones that were, you select automatically responded. If not automatically responded. So let's say you want to see the ones that were not. And then this way, if they weren't automatically responded to, you can prioritize that. And yeah, and here in the portal, the other thing is that if you see the little shield here, that means that this incident was already automatically responded to. Of course, the filtering helps you look at that, specifically, but the little shield there that's what it represents. All right, so that's really the incidents view. That's the operability perspective. A couple of other things I wanted to show you: adding an integration for response. So to be able to do that is fairly easy from our portal environment. You come here to integrations, you click on apps, and if you want to configure an out-of-the-box integration, you select response here, and that really allows you to kind of get started. So let's just add one here, Cisco Umbrella. You can activate the integration right here from within the portal. You give it a description. I think my keyboard is running out of battery, but it was supposed to say Cisco integration. And then you select the threat types that you want to block against with this technology that you have. So you select the different types here. And then these are the incidents that you can expect to be blocked. You can just enter the API. This is just something that you get from your Cisco environment, and then you activate it. It's set up. It's very easy to do. These out-of-the-box integrations make everything a lot easier. You're going to be able to automatically respond to a lot of the incidents that you're dealing with. So it makes life a lot easier as a cybersecurity operator in general. Last feature that we touched on earlier, the global MITRE matrix. I know that you saw the MITRE matrix within the incident, but a new feature that we have under our threat intelligence section here is the MITRE attack global matrix. Now, this one's different than the one you saw in the incident because one of the incidents focused on that particular IOC, that particular incident, how you're being targeted there. This global matrix is taking all of the incidents that you've seen over time, all of the connections with bad actors, and it's giving you the majority, the techniques that are being used against you the most, basically, as a whole, not related to one particular incident or another, but the majority of what you're seeing across your network and the majority of the techniques that you're seeing across your network. So you labeled here, you have all of those different IDs. These are the top tactics and techniques that are being used against you. So again, it helps you kind of make little adjustments to your cyber stack, understand how you're being targeted and what the majority of what's happening to your organization, like where it's coming from, how it's happening. So again, you click on that, you can see here a description of what's happening, the tactic that's being used. And if you click on that, again, you're going to be able to see the MITRE attack matrix and learn more about that technique. So we try to give you as much context as we can, try to give you as much information as we can about these incidents and how they're targeting you. You also have there a heat map below. So this is more of a list. The heat map is a different way to visualize it. You can download that here from the portal, and you'll get an image that looks something like this. And that will show you, again, just in a different way to visualize it, but showing you, for the most part, how you're being targeted, how your organization is being targeted. All right, and one other thing that we have is our reporting. So you have the incident report that I showed you, that you can download the PDF of a particular incident and see everything that we saw in the portal, really all of that information. But you can also create reports here. So you can click on a particular user, and then you can enable their reports here. Reporting frequency under email notifications. So you compromise status reports, you're going to turn that on, make sure that's turned on for this user. And then you're going to select the frequency with which you'd like this person to receive reports. So you have daily reports, you have weekly reports, bi-weekly and monthly, and it's going to show you that same time span. So either daily, weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly, what's been happening in your organization, all of the different incidents that have been discovered, how your cyber stack is working as well. So once you save the changes, you can expect to receive those reports with regularity. And I have an example here of what you can expect to see once that's configured. So gives you a summary of what's happening, gives you all those threat types you're dealing with, the different types of incidents, kind of what's happening, what kind of trends we're seeing. Maybe there's more incidents than usual, or just kind of a different frequency there. And yeah, it tries to give you as much context as you can, so you can really see how Lumu's working for you. You know, how the detection is working for you, and also how your cyber stack is performing in protecting against these things. So you have the different integrations that you configured, and you can see the different incidents that they've blocked or contained since they've been set up with the Lumu product. And that's where you can visualize all of that. You can see which areas of the business are being impacted the most, which is really great. So you can see the distribution of incidents and the endpoints that are being affected, the number of that. Again, and then just different areas of the business that you may want to focus on. And then you're going to see the top 5 incidents, so the ones with the most activity and the most endpoints impacted. Just a different way to see these incidents. So all that information is in these reports. All right, and last but not least, I always do like to touch on the fact that we have support and a ton of really, really great documentation here in the Lumu portal. Sorry, I clicked on that too quickly, but we have this orange question mark here in the portal, and this is where you can get customer support, where you can get access to our doc store and all the different articles related to what you may be seeing in the portal. So once you click right there, you see this little pop-up. You can search, across our documentation. You can see about metadata collectors and kind of read about things that most of our customers are reading or inquiring about. You can also go here and see all of our documentation about getting started, deploying metadata collectors. There's a ton of great information in our doc store. It's very comprehensive, and it kind of walks you through the step-by-steps. If you ever have questions about how to set anything up or configure integrations, things like that, everything can be found here. You simply click on the link and it'll take you to the docs there. You can just kind of read up more about what you want. You can expand it here and it'll open the doc store itself. And I encourage you guys to look through here. Again, really great material that we have, a ton of information. And then you can also get support, product support. So if you have any questions about something, you can inquire here. We'll send directly to our support team. That'll open a ticket with them so that they can get started with that.